Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Taya and this is Taya's Turning Pages. So by the title of today's video, you can tell that this is going to be my September TBR video. And y'all, I cannot believe that we are almost in September, and the fact that this year is almost over. It's really crazy when you think about it. Like, time does not exist, honestly. But I really wanted to share all of these books with you because, like I mentioned in previous videos, I'm really trying my hardest to get back on track and being consistent with BookTube and just being consistent in general with reading. But I really hope that the books that I have in this pile over here will be read during the month of September. And if not, of course, I will just carry them over into the next couple of months and hopefully finish them before the end of the year. I have so many books that I have talked about on my channel and that I even included in my top 22 books to read in 2022 video that I said I was going to read, and I have not made a dent in some of those books and in some of those genres. But again, not gonna beat myself up over it. We're just gonna do the best we can. So with all of that out of the way, let's get started. The first book that I have here is actually a book that I was reading, but I decided to put it on the back burner because I wanted to start a new book and finish that one sooner. But the book that I'm talking about is Girl Forgotten by Karen Slaughter. So this is actually my first Karen Slaughter novel, and I'm really excited about that. I have wanted to read her books for quite some time now, but because a lot of her books focus on violence against women and like extreme violence against women, I have steered clear of her books just because like that's not something that I really like to read, especially like in my thriller and horror books. Like it's just it's too close to home, you know what I mean? So I don't really like to read those type of books. But when I saw this on Book of the Month and I read the synopsis, I was instantly intrigued and I knew I had to add it to my cart and give it a try. So I'm only about 2 chapters in because the prologue and chapter 1 itself are very long, and I usually read thrillers, or I have been reading thrillers that have shorter chapters. So this is going to be an interesting change of pace, but nonetheless, I'm still excited to dive further into this and to see how this all plays out. So I'm actually just going to read the synopsis here, and right here it says, a girl with a secret, an unsolved murder, one final chance to uncover a killer. Longville Beach, 1982. Emily Vaughn gets ready for the prom. For an athlete who is smart, pretty, and well-liked, this night should be the highlight of her high school career. But Emily has a secret, and by the end of the evening, that secret will be silenced forever. 40 years later, Emily's murder remains a mystery. Her tight-knit group of friends closed ranks, her respected, wealthy family retreated inward, and the small town moved on from her grisly attack. But that's all about to change. U.S. Marshal Andrea Oliver arrives in Longville Beach on her first assignment, to protect a judge receiving death threats. But in reality, Andrea is there to find justice for Emily. The killer is still out there, and Andrea must discover the truth before she gets silenced too. Like, do y'all hear that synopsis? That sounds so good. So yeah, once I read that, I knew that I had to add this to my cart and give it a read immediately. So like I mentioned, I am taking a break just because I wanted to start a different book and finish that before the month of August is over, because as you can see, this book is a little bit chunky, so I knew I wasn't going to finish this before the end of the month. And you know, I'm trying to hit goals and stuff like that. So I will be taking this into September and hopefully finish it then. So make sure you subscribe and turn on those post notifications so that way you will stay up to date on my review and my thoughts on this book and Karen Slaughter as an author. So we're just going to knock all of the thrillers out of the way, and the next book that I have here is Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. So this is another book of the month pick, and this was a book of the month pick for August. So I got this the same time that I got Girl Forgotten because I'm on a thriller kick, you guys. If you guys have watched my previous videos, then you know that Alice Feeney is like one of my favorite authors. Even though I've only read one book by her, and it was Rock, Paper, Scissors, I loved that book down. I still love that book. That's still one of my top 10 thrillers. I know, controversial, because there were a lot of people that did not like it, and they gave good reasons as to why they didn't like it, but like, I just kind of, you know, block them out, close them out, because I love that book. When I saw that Book of the Month was offering this book, I knew I had to pick it up, and I'm really glad that I did. I actually don't know too much about this book. I don't really know anything except for the fact that this is like a 1x1 by Ruth Ware / and then There Were None by Agatha Christie vibe. So it's like that like murder mystery type of trope, which I usually really like in my thrillers. I love a good murder mystery. But right here it says, after years of avoiding one another, Daisy Darker's entire family is assembling for Nana's 80th birthday party in Nana's crumbling Gothic house on a tiny tidal island. Ooh, that is a tongue twister. They're finally back together one last time, and when the tide comes in, they will be cut off from the rest of the world for 8 hours. The family arrives, each of them harboring secrets. Then, at the stroke of midnight, as the storm rages, Nana is found dead. An hour later, the next family member follows. Trapped on an island where someone is killing them one by one, the Darkers must reckon with their present mystery as well as their past secrets before the tide goes out and all is revealed. So yes, quintessential murder mystery, quintessential whodunit, and we're here for that. I love these type of thrillers and these type of stories in general, just because I feel like, you know, to break up the monotony and to break up the intense and dark thrillers that you might be reading, I feel like these are just really good to throw in there, again, as a filler. And I know that this is like Daisy Darker, so I'm sure that this is going to get a little bit dark. My point still remains in that I feel like these one-by-one stories are just really compulsive, really fun to read about, because everybody has all this drama, all these secrets, there's so much betrayal, and I love when that drama and like catty fighting works its way into these type of stories. It just makes it such a more fun and enjoyable reading experience. So yes, cannot wait to dive into this one at some point in September. Oh my gosh, y'all, I had lip gloss on my Invisalign, and I'm so sorry if you've seen that. I tried to remove it, but every single time I put on lipstick or lip gloss, it always gets stuck on my Invisalign. I don't know why that is, but that's just how it is. So I am sorry. But moving on, the last thriller that I have in this pile is I Found You by Lisa Jewell. So as I mentioned in my last video, I'm pretty sure, or the video before that, I don't remember, I did recently haul a Lisa Jewell book, and it was The Night She Disappeared. I actually finished that. Stay tuned for my August wrap up if you want to know my thoughts. But after I read that book, I decided that I need to read every single book that Lisa Jewell ever created. I really like this woman's storytelling. Like, she is such a good thriller author, and again, a great beginner thriller author. Even though I've read so many thrillers in my lifetime already, I still find myself going back to Lisa Jewell, because Then She Was Gone was the thriller that got me into thrillers, and I'm honestly looking for one of her other books that will top that one or come close to it. And I haven't found it yet. I haven't found it. But that doesn't mean anything, because I'm still going to read her books regardless. So the plot and synopsis for this book seems a little bit convoluted, so I will try my best to explain it in my own words. Essentially, I think that this book follows this man who is in this marriage, and he's married to this woman, and he ends up going missing one night. And obviously the wife is devastated, and she doesn't understand what happened to her husband. And I think she tries to, you know, join in on the investigation and tries to help police like figure out what really happened to him the night or the day he disappeared. And years later, another set of characters get introduced to the story, and I think they're two teenage girls, and they're on the beach, and they're having a beach day, you know, just chilling, having fun. And they notice that there's this like man who looks out of place who is on the beach, and he's just watching them, and they don't understand why he's watching them. They don't get why he is like kind of hanging back and just, again, observing them and seeing what they're doing. Obviously they're creeped out by this, but this incident has always stuck with them, and they start to wonder to themselves, like, who was that man? Why was he just on the beach? Why did he look, I guess, so disheveled? Why was he staring at us, etc., etc.? The story takes off from there, because I'm assuming that there's a connection between this man that was on the beach watching these girls and also that man that was married to that woman that went missing years earlier. So yeah, that was the best way that I could describe the synopsis, but I really want to read more Lisa Jewell novels, and I think that this is one of her older books, so I'm really going back into the catalog here. And I don't really know how this one is going to turn out, because I haven't really seen any reviews on it, and the ones that I have seen aren't the best. So we'll see how this goes, but either way, I'm still going to give it a read. I hope that this book is similar to Lisa Jewell's other books that I've read, where it takes me on this like twisty, turvy, and just ominous ride that I love and look for, again, when it comes to her books. So now I'm gonna move on to the romance, because you guys know I'm also a romance girly. And the first book that I have here is The Taming of Jessie Rose by Beverly Jenkins. So first of all, let's take a look at the cover, because you guys know I love me a good historical romance cover. Like, this one is no exception. I love the pink and the little stallion in the back. Like, we love to see it. So this one actually follows a young woman named Jessie who owns her own farm, and it's pretty like revolutionary that she owns her own farm, especially during this time, because she is a woman, and she is more specifically a black woman. But she owns her family's farm, and she just manages it and takes care of the day-to-day. I'm not really sure what happened to her family, but she is in charge of this farm. And one day she actually like crossed paths with this outlaw named Griffin, and I don't know how this happens, but essentially she asked Griffin, can he like help her run her farm, because she's worried about other like competing farms and just other men like in the area trying to take advantage of her and take advantage of her farm. So she figures if she has Griffin help her, you know, manage everything and work with her, that she'll be safe and her farm will be safe. And so Griffin decides to agree, and then of course sparks start to fly between the two of them, and the story takes off from there. So I know that the synopsis might not sound like the most interesting, but I know it will be, because one thing about Miss Beverly Jenkins, she gonna give you passionate and steamy in her books, and I know that this is going to be no exception, especially because Griffin is an outlaw. So y'all know that this is gonna have the bad boy and good girl trope. This is probably gonna have the touch her and you die trope, and I love those tropes in my romance books. I don't know what it is about the bad boy and the good girl, but for some reason it gets me every single time. So I'm really looking forward to jumping into this book and just being transported back into the world of Beverly Jenkins, because I haven't read one of her books in a couple of months now, and I'm falling off, y'all. Like, y'all know I am the am the Beverly Jenkins girl, and I'm falling off. So I definitely need to jump back into my bag and read these stories because I just need more of her writing in my life. The next book that I have here is a leftover. I'm not sure from which month, but it is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I was actually supposed to read this book for my book club like a couple months back and it never happened, but I am going to buddy read this with Erin from Erin Megan here on Booktube, and I'm not sure when we're actually going to get to this. I'm hoping it's sometime in September, but I wanted to throw it in here anyway just in case we do because we're still trying to iron out the details. But yeah, I'm going to try to read this book hopefully in September. So this actually follows a woman named Nora who is a hardworking and career-driven woman. She's all about her business and she doesn't have time for a relationship until she goes to this conference or convention that is for those in the publishing industry, and there she meets this man named Charlie who is an editor, and I don't think her and Charlie get along at first. I think that they are somewhat enemies, and as time goes on they start to spend more time with each other and they start to get to know each other, and then sparks start to fly. Just another quintessential romance as well as a quintessential women's literary romance slash fiction book, and I'm here for it. You guys know how I feel about Emily Henry. I am Emily Henry Hive, similar to the rest of Booktube and Book Talk and Bookstagram, so really looking forward to diving into this one. I have seen a lot of negative reviews about this book, which really makes me nervous. I don't know what that's about, but I really hope that I am in the minority and I end up enjoying this one and can hopefully put it up there with Beach Read. That's always probably going to be my book and my favorite of hers because Gus and January, chef's kiss. Love those two characters, love the romance between them, and we stand. So I'm really hoping that Nora and Charlie can also be in that category as well. The next book that I have here is actually an ARC that was sent to me by the publisher, and it was sent to me by St. Martin's Press. So thank you so much, St. Martin's Press, for sending this my way. But it is Vanessa Jared's Got a Man by LaQuette. And y'all, I am over the moon that I have this book now. I saw this all on my Bookstagram feed because I follow St. Martin's Press main account on Instagram, but I also follow their romance account, and I saw this book circulating on their feed and I had to stop and inquire because I was like, what is that? This looks like a book that will be right up my alley. Like, look at that cover, first of all. Get into it, yeah. Gorgeous, gorgeous, and also the diversity. Hello, I'm here for it. So I'm actually just going to read the synopsis for this book because this is an ARC and it actually doesn't publish until September 20th, 2022. So on the back here it says, a once again single city girl is picking up the pieces of her life when her past returns with a vengeance. Suddenly, she is thrust into the middle of a small town family drama featuring her no-good ex and an unexpected second chance at love with someone new. Vanessa Jared, a 40-something divorcee, decided that the best way to pull herself out of a post-divorce slump and leaves her painful past behind was to form the savvy, sexy, and single club with her two best friends and start the do me portion of their lives. But when a sexy sheriff shows up on Vanessa's doorstep, wanting her to help him keep his sister from marrying Vanessa's no-good ex, Vanessa is not having any of it. Until she spots a photo of her ex's new fiance wearing Vanessa's grandmother's ring, which he clearly stole from her. Child, not a thief. So now it's on. Vanessa is all about taking this trifling fill in the blank down. What she does not expect is to fall in love along the way. I love it already. I haven't even read it yet. I haven't even cracked open the book, but I love it already. This book might be one of my most anticipated reads of the year because, again, the cover is just stunning, but also the diversity, but then also the synopsis itself just sounds like it's right in my alley. I also love when romance books focus on older characters because it's just a different perspective and a change of pace from the typical romances that I read where the characters are close to my age or a little bit younger. I'm really excited to see where this goes, and I really hope that this puts more of a spotlight on LaQuette because we need more Black authors and we need more Black romance authors, period. I actually do plan on buddy reading this with my Bookstagram buddy Aaliyah. She's actually waiting for her ARC to come in the mail, so once she gets hers, we're probably going to start it hopefully sometime next week because I really want to read this and get my review up before the pub date. So definitely make sure you follow me on Bookstagram so that way you can see what my thoughts are on this book before the pub date. And the last romance book that I have here is Hookshot by Kennedy Ryan. So before we get into the actual synopsis of the book, I just have to show you guys the cover because it is absolutely stunning. I don't want to get too close because then my lighting is going to get wonky and it takes a while to refocus, but y'all can see it. Y'all get the vision. Absolutely stunning. I love the illustrations that Kennedy Ryan went with when it came to the special edition of the Hoop series. So I mentioned this in previous videos, that's all I say, but I mentioned this in previous videos that Kennedy Ryan did come out with special edition covers of the Hoop series. Her first book, Longshot, her second book, Blockshot, and then of course her third book, Hookshot, all have these special edition covers, and the illustrator snapped, like truly went hard because look at that. Like it's just the same picture that's on the front, but I just love it. I love when authors and illustrators really take the time to make these books beautiful like this. But anyways, this follows two characters, one named Keenan and one named Lotus, and Keenan and Lotus actually do appear in the first two books in the Hoop series. I'm not going to get into how they're connected to each character, but just know that they do have a connection to all of the characters that were in the previous two books, and they do appear in those books, and I'm sure that those characters will appear in this book. Keenan and Lotus couldn't be any more different from one another. Lotus is very into her spirituality. She's very in tune with her spirituality, and that is like a big part of her identity. She's really just all about, like, you know, vibes and things like that, so she can really sense when someone is not a good person and they have like a dark aura around them, and she can also really spot the good in people as well. So that's pretty much what she is about. And then on the flip side of that, you have Keenan, and Keenan is an NBA player, and he's really good at what he does. But unfortunately, Keenan is going through a very tumultuous and just devastating divorce because his wife ended up cheating on him with one of his teammates. And so Keenan is trying to deal with not only, like, you know, the settlement and a prenup and all of that stuff, but also Keenan and his ex-wife share a child, a daughter, together. And so now Keenan is trying to really make sure that he protects his daughter from just how ugly divorce can get and things like that. So while he's going through the motions of this divorce and also just trying to keep his head clear for these big games that he plays, him and Lotus of course cross paths, and I'm sure that they both find solace and comfort in one another, and then they start to form a relationship, and the story takes off from there. Even though I am really looking forward to reading this book, I'm also really sad that I'm reading it, because this means that this is the final book in the Hoop series, and I won't have any more books in that series to look forward to. Now, Kennedy Ryan of course has other books and other series that I'm definitely going to try my hand at and read, but I don't know if anything is going to top the Hoop series for me, just because I've become so connected to these characters to the point where they feel real, you know? And I can tell you right now that both Longshot and Blockshot are going to be in my top, you know, favorite books of 2022 video at the end of the year. I'm sure Hookshot will make its way into that as well, but I know for certain those two favorites, because Kennedy Ryan's writing is so compelling and so authentic that, like, I become so emotionally invested in these characters, and I feel like it's going to be no exception with Keenan and Lotus. I'm going to actually read it on my iPad because the Hoop series is free on Kindle Unlimited, and I don't want to ruin this special edition, so I will be reading it on my iPad. But yeah, really looking forward to it. And the last book that I have here is actually a nonfiction read. I know, y'all, we finally got another nonfiction read thrown into the mix, but it is called Teeth: The Story of Beauty, Inequality, and the Struggle for Oral Health in America by Mary Otto. So this book is very different from the nonfiction books that I typically read. I actually heard about this book because I was watching one of Tiffany Ferg's older videos. Tiffany is a social commentator, so she pretty much just like comments and talks about different topics that are happening in the world. So healthcare in America, why rent is out of control, things like that. And she has this series on her channel where she does internet analyses, and I think the video that featured this book talked about the rise of veneers and just talked about why Americans in particular are always striving to have that Hollywood smile. And as you guys know, I do have Invisalign. I actually started my Invisalign journey back in January? No, I actually started my Invisalign journey back in February of this year, and I still have a lot of time to go. I'm on this treatment plan for 2 years, and even once I'm finished, I'm still going to have to get work done on my teeth because they're not going to be as perfect as I want them to be. So because I'm on this Invisalign journey, and because my oral health has transformed, I'm very interested in teeth now, and like the mechanics of teeth and how they move, and similar to what Tiffany was talking about in her video, the psychology behind why we as human beings want like straight, perfect white teeth, or why most of us do. So I just thought that this book sounded really interesting because it talks about, you know, the lack of healthcare and dental care and why it's such a struggle for people to get to the dentist and to actually get dental work done, why it's so expensive, and really just the history of teeth and how it has become the industry that it has become, where people are getting veneers, where people are getting, you know, Invisalign, braces, and all these whitening treatments, etc. But yeah, I'm really nerding out right now, but either way, I cannot wait to read this one. Because of my growing interest in teeth and how that affects us, I just know that this book is probably going to really give me a lot of insight and information as to why we are the way that we are when it comes to teeth. All right, y'all, and those are all of the books that I plan on reading for September. Like I say in all of my TBR videos, I'm not sure if I'm going to get to all of these books or most of them. We will see at the end of the month, but I really do hope that I can make a huge dent into this pile, or at least read all of these books. That would be really nice and like a goal, but it's an ambitious goal that I don't know if I'm going to reach. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me my channel out. And lastly, please make sure you follow me on Bookstagram as well as Storygraph. I will leave all of that information linked down below, as well as at the end of the video like I always do. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!